All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video. Today we're going to do a couple things. We're going to look back at last week and look at how much I made selling options last week, and then also consider what might happen in the coming week. But before we get started, if you like this kind of content and you like to learn more about selling options, hit that subscribe button. I've been documenting me trying to sell some options for some extra income on the side and just see if I can make that work. If you want to follow along, check it out. If you want to learn more and help out the channel, I have a course in the description. It teaches you everything you need to know to sell options on your own and basically just do what I'm doing. And if you're uninterested in any of that, I do appreciate you watching nonetheless. So let's start out with looking at last week. As you may or may not know, I have this web app here that I've been creating in my free time, and I think we're getting close to making it public, by the way. So if you want to try it out for yourself and are excited about it like I am, stay tuned. Real high level, what this web app does is if you trade options on Robinhood and you ask yourself the question, how much money am I actually making selling options? That's what this web app will answer for you, and it'll answer it for you in a millisecond. So maybe not quite a millisecond. Anyway, we're going to use this to see how much I made last week selling options, what I sold those options are, how much I made per ticker symbol selling options on those stocks. So once I upload my statement from Robinhood onto this web app, we have all of the stats right here. So how much I made from selling options is $2,700, but how much I paid from buying to close other options is $1,464. So how much I actually made, how much hit my account that I kept was $1,243. And I made 47 total trades last week. And with this amount right here, you can probably understand why a web app like this is pretty convenient, because before I used to track all of my trades in a spreadsheet, and that was great. But once I started trading so many times per week, it became nearly impossible to keep track of all the trades and accurately track those trades. So in order to have something like this, I think's a real time saver, and I don't have to second guess if I entered things correctly. But anyway, if we go down to income per ticker, this is breaking it down by how much I made selling options on different stocks. So we can see I made about $32 selling options on HIMS, about $476 selling options on Robinhood stock, about $75 selling options on Nvidia, $431 on SoFi, and TQQQ almost $228. And if we sort here, the largest amount goes to Robinhood stock. And usually it's SoFi, but SoFi is second, so I guess it's not that crazy. And so what do I do with this income, you may ask? Well, I could, if I wanted to, take it out of Robinhood and put it in my bank account and pay my credit card off with it, or buy an expensive dinner if I wanted to. I don't know. The options are endless. But what I do actually is just reinvest it into stocks, because I don't necessarily need this income, at least not right now. I just reinvest it into my favorite stocks, and that adds a bit of a compounding effect, because once I have more shares, then I can start selling more covered calls on those shares. And so that kind of leads us into next week. Next week and tomorrow is going to be really interesting because of some, let's say, diplomatic things going on. And really, whichever way it ends up going, it's going to benefit and hurt me at the same time, because let's say for some reason things skyrocket still and we're a little bit detached from reality. Then some of the covered calls I sold may get closer to becoming, or may become, in the money, like some of these Robinhood covered calls that I sold. And on the flip side, if things take a bit of a dip next week, I have some puts I sold on stocks like SoFi here. I sold 6 puts that expire this coming Friday at a strike price of $14.50. So if things dip, some of these puts may become in the money. When something crazy, some kind of event goes on, I typically put on the brakes and just let things go and try not to panic. And I know saying that now is easy, but when you see your portfolio do something radical or drastic, maybe it's not so easy. So I always try to keep that in the back of my mind to A, not panic, and B, just hold off and see what ends up happening. Let the dust settle and see what ends up coming out of this event. On the plus side though, I had a lot of covered calls on SoFi expire last Friday, completely worthless. And if you're selling options, that's what you like. typically, if you're doing it for income at least, you like your options that you sell to expire completely worthless. That way you can sell additional options later and make additional income. So right now I have $5,275. A lot of this is thanks from selling options and putting the money back into SoFi. But I only have 4,100 shares actually tied up in SoFi covered calls. So if I wanted to, I could sell another 11 covered calls next week. And, this is hypothetical, but if we look at options chains right now and we go to sell a call here, though I expect a lot of these to change on Monday, let's just say they don't. The $16 strike for a $14 premium that expires in 5 days is pretty tempting. And what I would do typically is I wouldn't sell them all at once. So like I said, I can sell 11 covered calls right now, but maybe I'll just sell 6 and leave the other shares available in case I want to sell a different strike down the road. So if I sell these 6 right off the bat, I'll make about $84 in premium. And just to reiterate, that's only if things stay the same as they are right now. Something else I'm kind of considering is I bought 100 shares of NVIDIA a while back, and I've been selling covered calls on NVIDIA. And then if it gets near or in the money, then I'll end up rolling it. And I've been rolling it now for some time, maybe a month and a half or so, or maybe just a month, I'm not sure. But I bought the shares at $128 a piece. If the market starts to tank next week, this covered call will probably expire worthless. Though it does have a decent amount of time until it does so, what I may consider if this does tank a decent amount is buying to close it and just selling my NVIDIA shares to free up some cash. And I'm actually also considering bringing some cash in to this Robinhood portfolio that I just have sitting in my bank account right now. And if a good opportunity arises, then I can use that cash to acquire more shares at a discounted price. So I have all of these different things going on in my head as the next week plays out. These are just a few highlights, and if you stuck along this far, thank you so much for listening to me ramble on. I hope to see you in a future video, and of course, we'll talk again soon as this week plays out. I'll make videos throughout the week as I typically do, and I hope to see you in those videos. Take care.